This is the AMSAT Newsreel.
I'd like to introduce to everyone who's here and who's listening our board of directors. We have a couple of changes this year. The members of the board of directors are myself, Richard Hambley, W2GPS, Barry Baines, WD4ASW, Gunther Micey, W8GSM, Dr. Thomas A. Clark, W3IWI, Lou McFadden, W5DID, Paul Shook, N6TX. Emily Clark is new to the board, W0EEC. We're honored to have you on the board, Emily. Bob McGuire is the first alternate, N4HY. And Lee McLamb's the second alternate, KU4OS. Lee is our executive vice president. Now, to introduce the officers, some of the same names again. I'm the president, Richard Hambley, W2GPS. Our executive vice president again, Lee McLamb. Our vice president of operations is not here today, Mike Kingery, KE4AZN. Our vice president of human spaceflight is also not here today, Frank Bauer, KA4HDO. Where is Frank today? Geneva. Yeah, I knew he was doing something really important.
Playing GPS for NASA.
Yeah, I know there's a real reason why he's in Geneva besides sightseeing, but I envy him the trip. Our Vice President of Engineering, we've had a change this year. Stan Wood is retiring from that position, and Bob McGuire is going to take over as Vice President of Engineering, N4HY. Congratulations, Bob. Our Marketing and User Services Vice President, Barry Baines. Our Secretary, Steve Diggs. Our Treasurer, Gunther Micey. And our Manager, Martha Sarkowitz. Okay. Now, for a quick review of this past year, or maybe even a little bit more than a year, AO51, which used to be codenamed Echo, is working nearly flawlessly. It is the most capable and useful small satellite that AMSAT has sponsored in many years. Certainly since the microsat days, 15 years ago. And I wanted to point out, and I have pointed out before, but I want to emphasize again that it takes a great deal of work from our software development team as well as our operations team to keep Echo running. And I want to thank both the operations and software development people. I mean, that's Mike Kingery and his team, and Jim White and his team for keeping AO51 running as well as it does. And for more details of Echo, I encourage everyone here and listening on the network to call Martha. She likes phone calls, okay? I love the Internet store, but Martha likes to hear from you directly. So call Martha and order the Echo book that Gould Smith wrote, and learn all you can about Oscar 51. I can't even read that one myself. I got too many words on this. Human spaceflight. The support of human spaceflight continues to be an important thing that AMSAT is doing and will continue to do, although it doesn't say so on these slides. I want to point out that it's our intention to follow humans in space wherever they go, and if NASA decides that that's the moon or Mars or somewhere else, then we plan to go with them with ham radio. I wanted to point out, and in far too many words because I didn't have time to write fewer words, it takes more time to write fewer words, that in July I was honored to be asked to assist in what you would normally call a school contact, except this was a little unusual. It was the school teachers, not the students. There was a fairly large group of school teachers that came to Goddard Space Flight Center for the NASA Explorer School Satellite Communications class. And turns out there were too many teachers to fit inside the rather small and cramped radio room that Frank has in what I shall politely call the penthouse of one of the NASA buildings. It's the attic, up where the heating pipes are and everything. And he had too many teachers, so he called me and a few other guys and said, we need some help. So I ran right down there. It's only 20 minutes from my house. And we took half of the teachers, and instead of staying up in the classroom, we marched them back down 4 flights of stairs outside and into a field up overlooking the building, and we took an HT and an arrow. No, actually we took 2 HTs and an arrow, and the second HT was used to coordinate with Frank Bauer, who was in charge of the indoor group. And so the indoor group of teachers got to ask a few questions using the big ASL antennas and the big radio, right? And then they called us, said it was our turn. So we got out there with an arrow and an HT, and we asked our 7 or so questions, and then they went back to the indoor group. Now, the first thing that happened to me, because I hadn't done this before, was I could not believe that I was actually talking to the space station, because on the HT and the arrow it sounded much too good. I mean, it was pegging the S meter, and but I forgot those guys are running a real radio up there, and they're not very far away. This was like we're almost like working a local repeater. They were so strong. But the impression I had was overwhelming, because these teachers cried. Now, what was I going to say here? Yeah, anyway, they were as impressed as any student group of 12th graders I've ever seen. And for me, that reminded me just how important this program is, even when school contacts may not seem important to our members directly, because in many ways they don't directly impact our members. If our members go out there and participate in one of these school contacts, they'll be as overwhelmed as I was, I'm convinced. Now, last year, much of what we did, or much of what was obvious that we did, was focused on various infrastructure things. The first thing we did at last year's board meeting, exactly a year ago now, was to modify the organizational structure of AMSAT in such a way that we created teams of teams instead of a more formal hierarchical structure. And by doing this, we have an executive team of key people that are covering key areas that are listed on the slide here, and each of those, in fact, has a team of their own of anywhere from 3 people to I don't know how many, 20 or so. And the result is that we have spread the responsibility for various functions like finance and fundraising or marketing and field ops, technical and scientific, office management, external affairs, operations, human spaceflight, and record keeping. We've spread those responsibilities so that we actually have, my estimate, I haven't counted them, at least twice as many volunteers doing critical work in AMSAT at this level than we had before this reorganization, which has made, well, it's a mixed bag. Mostly it's helped to spread the load, the workload, and that's great. It's helped to include more people in the operations of the organization. And of course, it's also led to more relationship issues as we get to know each other. But it's a fantastic group of volunteers working in these areas, and I want to emphasize that there are many slots in this organization of organizations that are still unfilled, and so there's always room for more volunteers to help run the organization. And I see all the engineers out there smiling. I don't want any part of that. I just want to build satellites, because this. But of course, that's just another team, isn't it? We've improved a number of infrastructure issues in this past year, and this is a very short list. There's many other things on the list. But certainly, we rolled out and upgraded the new website, and that upgrade is continuing, and I expect it will continue for a very long time, because our website is becoming more and more dynamic and more representative of information that's current. And some of the pages that may seem not quite there yet will be as we improve our ability to communicate through the web. The online store has been implemented. Technically, these two things were both honchoed by Emily, our new board member, but many other people have had input in how they work and have had to learn to use the tools. So quite a few people have been involved in both of these things. We've also overhauled our accounting practices. That overhaul has resulted in significant improvements in the recognition of what we do by the outside interests, and culminated by our approval by the combined federal campaign, the government's version of United Way, I guess. They, after we finally completed this process, have approved us so that any of those of you who may have government jobs and have an opportunity to contribute to the CFC, you can, if you choose, contribute to AMSAT, and the AMSAT CFC number is on the website, I believe in a prominent place where it's easy to find. Other improvements we have begun, we've significantly along the way in a distributed AMSAT information system, which will be the basis for better and improved member services in a number of areas, including we'll eventually use it to drive member-only services, such as member-only areas of the website. Now, Phase 3E, we've begun a process of full and committed support by AMSAT for the Phase 3E project that's being led by AMSAT DL, but AMSAT NA is taking a substantial role. We have, I forgot how many, 5 or 6 key members of AMSAT NA doing very important and critical work for the development of P3E. And the really good news is that almost, maybe even 100%, almost 100%, if not 100% of everything they're doing, we're going to reuse on Eagle. So it turns out that this is a synergy that's absolutely made in heaven for us. So to kick off this new relationship with AMSAT DL and the new level of support, a number of us went over to Marburg earlier this year and met with the team, including Peter, their president, and Carl, their chief scientist, and quite a few others. And we were very well received, and we've continued an excellent working relationship with them since, and we are hoping that that satellite is completed and launched in what I'll call the near term. Over the next year or so, it'll either be very close to launch, maybe, I certainly don't know exactly when they're planning on it, but I don't think it's too far beyond a year at this point, and we're really excited because this will be the first part of AMSAT NA's strategy of getting multiple high Earth orbit satellites up in the sky, such that ultimately we will be able to have 24-hour-a-day coverage in almost all the regions of the Earth. That is to say, any time of the day you can find a high-orbit satellite somewhere in the sky. And this is the first satellite of the triad that we expect will be needed to accomplish that goal. Do that, guys.
All of us are thirsty.
We're going to the bar. So, as president, I'm officially adjourning the annual membership meeting, and I apologize to anyone out in Australia who thinks it's too early for a drink. It's not here.
It's afternoon somewhere in the world.
It's afternoon someplace.
This has been another edition of the AMSAT Newsreel.